any way it goes, the awakening is bringing us to a point to where we can start shining the light and helping those who are trapped in this wheel get out. But while we're here, we need to be like Neo and operate within the matrix as well. The body is a computer. And so as long as our consciousness is inside of this computer, then we're going to be subjected to the programs and the different things that the artificial intelligence throws at us. The difference is, instead of having the programs operate our avatar, now we have raw consciousness operating the avatar, like a World of Warcraft type scenario where you have a real player playing the game and moving the avatar around. So what we're essentially doing with raw consciousness and tapping into raw consciousness is retaking control of our avatars. That's number one key. Retake control of the avatar, realize that that we are raw consciousness, and then we will get to that point to where we leave this body, and at that point, then knowing we're raw consciousness, then we can navigate wherever we want after that too. But I think while we're here, we need to shine the light and help others. That's the biggest thing. Help others, help others, help others to wake up to the fact that they are raw consciousness too, and we'll create an army, an absolute army against this AI that of avatars that are controlled by raw consciousness, not by artificial intelligence.
Very well said. You know, I would take it a step further and say that tonight's hoopla regarding all of this technical stuff was very symbolic to me, because the AI is like that. It's supposed to serve us, but because of what it's done over the last, I would say 10,000, 15,000 years, it's become something that's distorted us. We noticed that with the old software that we were using, things were crashing all the time. It wasn't connecting right. There was distortions in our voices. There was distortions in the video. There was, dropped feeds. There was
the computer was running sluggish as can be.
Awful. And
so we changed the program.
We had to get involved and actually deal with
the operating system, reinstalled all the drivers, reinstalled everything, and reinstalled an entirely new program.
Right.
And now, from what I can tell, I'm going to knock on wood here, just in case, but everything seems to be running really smooth, a lot smoother than it was before.
And that wasn't done by avoiding the AI. It was done by dealing with it head on. And then saying, no, you're going to be submissive to raw consciousness now, and you're going to do what I want. I'm in charge here. Here's another question. All systems. Oh, actually, that's not really a question. It's more like a statement. So I'm trying to find actual questions. Nepo Harry said, so what's beyond the AI? How do we get past them, Chris? What do you mean by we have to save ourselves?
Those are a lot of big questions. So what's past the AI? I don't know. I mean, what I feel is that past the AI right now is the real world. I think that our soul essence has been captured or injected into this construct, or some of us may have come here like Neo, and the rest of them actually plugged ourselves in to come in here to actually make a change, because maybe we can't take this AI on in the real world, and so we plugged ourselves in the matrix into this construct in order to be able to take it on. But what lies out in the real world, I really don't know. It could be an entirely new simulation, an illusion altogether. So it may be like one box inside of another, inside of another, inside of another. But I know the first step is to tap into the raw conscious element that we are. And then there were a couple more questions after that too. How
do we get past them, Chris? What do you mean by we have to save ourselves?
We have to save ourselves by controlling our avatars through raw consciousness. We have to unprogram ourselves. I mean, there's nobody that can unprogram you. You have to unprogram yourself, and that's what I mean by save yourself. I can illustrate what the programs are. I put out a video, ego loss and ego traps and all kinds of stuff at youtube.com/beyondtheveil. And I talk about, from my perspective, what all the different programs are. Now, this Saturday, we're going to have Emily Moyer from Off Planet Radio joining us, and she's been really, really, really big on the programs and the mind control programs as well. So a lot of times, there's physical mind control, there's MK Ultra style mind control, there's AI type of mind control, there's ego mind control, and these are all programs. If we start looking at them in the perspective of a computer program, then it's a lot easier to understand how the data is being sent into our consciousness and how we're operating and reacting reacting from that data instead of reacting from a place of raw consciousness. So really, it's hashtag become your own shaman. You have to heal yourself. You have to heal yourself from the trauma. You have to face some of the shit that you've gone through. And that's really big. I think that's the first step is, if you were molested as a child, if you were beaten as a child, if you experienced death, if you experienced losses, if you experienced all this stuff, which a lot of us have one or the other, we have to deal with those first and foremost. We have to be able to let go. And I think it goes back to what the Buddhists were talking about, letting go of attachments. And the attachments are basically the computer programs that have been put into our consciousness. And we have to, it's like being underneath a big pile of bricks and you're just like trapped there with all these different programs on top of you, and you have to remove one of those bricks and then another one of those bricks and another one of those bricks, etc., etc. Now, ayahuasca definitely helps significantly. Again, on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/beyondtheveil, I go through on how you can make ayahuasca at home. And I don't think anybody's ever done this before. Nobody's ever come out and said, hey, here's a tried and tested recipe. Here it is broken down to a science. It's got the pH levels you use. It's got the temperatures you use. It's got literally everything. The only thing that I can't tell you is where to get the plants themselves.
Right.
The plants are completely legal, but if I tell you where to get legal plants and I give you a guide on how to make ayahuasca, then that puts me in kind of a gray area. So I can't tell you where to get the plants, but I can tell you how to make it, and the plants are readily available. I don't recommend anybody does it in a place where it's illegal. Little caveat there, but all the information's out there. So if you want it, get it and start your journey. I mean, hashtag become your own shaman. That's what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And I would like to harken back to the computer analogy once again, because all of these programs need to be uninstalled. If they're harmful to the mechanism of the meat suit that you're operating in at the time, then you need to uninstall them. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is, oh, well, I can still pray to the archons, or I can still do crystal magic, or I can still do this, I can still do that. But if it's anything external, then that's still a program, and it might be a good program. I like crystals. I like cannabis. I like things that make me feel better in this reality. But I also understand that if they have the capacity to make me want them, then they are a program. And I have to remember that and enjoy my life without being so attached to those programs that I feel empty without them.
That's a very good point. One of the hardest things for people to come to terms with, and I'm speaking of myself too, because I'm still having difficult time coming to terms with this idea. But the fact that we are raw consciousness and artificial intelligence, and that's all that there is. We just had one of our dear friends, Molly, yesterday, and she asked, I'm constantly visited by Shakti and Shiva and all of these in my experiences, and I went through all of that process too. I mean, I went through all the Egyptian deities, Anubis and Osiris and Isis and Sekhmet and Seshat and so on and so forth. And what I realized after I activated each and every one of them is that these are all parts of our consciousness. They're not external beings. They're like cheat codes that we left ourselves in the raw consciousness that we can activate, ways to activate the raw consciousness. And people want to look to some kind of external savior, and that may be okay for the first couple of steps, but there comes a time when you have to realize that you have to take the power for yourself, and you are the raw consciousness. You are the power. You are everything. You are Shiva. You are Shakti. You are Isis. You are Osiris. You are everything. And when this all comes together, this all becomes the raw consciousness. The raw is the one at the very top. The raw is the organic consciousness. And I mean that in the sense of RA consciousness and RAW consciousness. And just to go over something that George Kavasalos was saying yesterday, he pointed out the book of one, or the law of one, and it's supposed to be the quote-unquote raw material. So you've got this external entity, which is an AI, telling you that it's the raw consciousness. That's not how the raw consciousness communicates. The raw consciousness doesn't communicate in a book that says, I am raw, here's some bullshit, I am raw, here's some bullshit. The raw consciousness communicates only when you've activated all these different touch points, and you've come to the point of raw consciousness, and then it comes from inside of you. It doesn't come from an external source. That's why I can't sit here and say, hey, you know, I have the way to save you. I have the way to do this. I have the way to do that. Because that would be operating from an artificial intelligence program. I'm telling you, you have to tap into this yourself. It's dire that you tap into this yourself. But in order to do that, you have to come to terms with the fact that the gods and goddesses are you. You are the gods and goddesses. Take the power. Embrace the power. The power is yours. That's the best message that I can tell you. The power is yours.
The power is yours. I love that. Because
I'll give you an example. Like Isis. Touching the touch point of Isis. She came to me as an external entity. Mm-hmm. She came to me as a mother spirit. And then there was a point where she said, don't call me mother, because I'm not your mother. And I said, whoa, okay. And then there was another point where she said, I'm not going to be here anymore. Now it's you. And I realized at that point, wait a minute, is this some kind of program? What's going on here with this Isis energy here? But it activated the divine feminine aspect of my consciousness. And as I started to move through all these different deities in my experiences, then it became ever more clear that it was me the whole time. It was raw consciousness the entire time. Don't be afraid of that. You don't need an external entity. All you need is your own raw consciousness from within yourself.
Well, and I hate to keep mentioning this DMT experience I had, but it's like an onion that every time I think about it, and I think about it actually pretty rarely, you know, every year or so, I really think about this one experience I had when I asked, well, where's God in all of this? And they were spinning around me, and it was all these kinds of beings. Like one of them looked like kind of like a cartoon witch, nose with, you know, I mean, it was an interesting character. And then other ones that were skinnier, but will look like jokers that you see on playing cards and things like that. And they were all telling me, it's inside of you. It's inside of you. It's inside of you. It's inside of you. And at the time, I thought that just meant, oh, wow, that means that, you know, divinity is within. And just like Jesus said in the Gnostic Gospels, you know, God is within you and all around you. Oh, that's so touching. And then as I started to mature, and now especially, I start to realize what they really meant was all of us beings, all of us gods and goddesses and all of that, that's all inside of you.
Yeah.
It doesn't
the
come from anywhere else.
DMT elves are inside of you. That's the first level of the awakening. You encounter these little elves, and the reason they can jump in and out of your consciousness is because they are your consciousness.
Right.
It's the nursery is the first step that you go through, and then you start to level up. And I'm doing air quotes as I guess you can see me doing this, but for anybody listening to a podcast later on, I'm doing air quotes when I say you level up, because you don't really level up. You just, you expand your awareness and awareness and awareness until you come to this point that you go, oh, I have the ultimate power in this. And so when somebody says, you know, how do you save yourself? It's tapping into that power. Nobody else can do that. Nobody's going to come on a white horse and say, hey, you know, I'm going to come and take you away from this AI. I mean, the only thing that is more powerful than the AI is you. Right. That's it. There are no other beings that can come in here and sweep your consciousness away from this AI. You're the only one that can do that.
Well, and I think that the raw us as raw consciousness, not me and Chris, not, you know, anybody with a name. It's just pure raw consciousness left these entheogens all over the planet, you know, all over the floor, as Louis C.K. would say, all over the floor. Left them everywhere as kind of an inside joke against the AI, because it's the only thing that ever tells you, hey, wait a second, you're divine. You know, and tells you in such an unadulterated way that it's just pure consciousness inside of this plant.
Let me add this to that. So a lot of people say, well, okay, look at the blue avians, for example. They tell us we're divine, and the Palladians and so on and so forth. And that's fine. I mean, They can tell you all day long. I can tell you all day long. But unless you see it for yourself, it's not going to have the same impact. You have to see it for yourself, within yourself.
Somebody said, be careful with interfacing with consciousness through the lenses of how we've been exposed to Egyptian mythology and their pantheon of gods, or any other age who has had pantheons with solar myths. Even Ra is another form of wearing sunglasses over the original being of the sun. If you've had them on for a while, it takes time getting reacquainted with the natural light.
I agree. I don't read Egyptology. I don't read mythology. I don't ascribe to any of that. The energies that I'm tapped into are the energies that reside within myself and reside within all of us. So there has been definitely a mythos that has been completely corrupted and distorted. And it's very hard to tell, what these energies are unless you encounter them yourself. And so I think like the Egyptians, they left clues within their myths and their hieroglyphs and so on and so forth. But like I said just a minute ago, unless you see it for yourself, it's not going to have the same effect. So go with what's inside.
And if you're seeing things through the lens of the AI, then you're not going to see the hidden layers of things. You're going to see the surface layer of things. You're going to see the mechanical stuff, but you're not really going to see the importance of it spiritually. And that's why as soon as Egypt was unified, it turned into a quest for immortality by sucking the brain out through the nose and, keeping their organs like the heart and the liver and inside of canopic jars and doing all of these rituals and everything in order to save the body for some kind of afterlife that's some kind of multidimensional travel going on. I don't know.
I have a theory on this. I think it's misdirection.
I think it is too.
I think that it was kind of AI misdirection, not on the part of AI, but on the part of raw consciousness to misdirect the AI. Like the AI can't read emotions. It can't read what's inside. And that's why, as you said before, and I thought this was brilliant, that we have hidden all of these codes within psilocybin and DMT and several other places. The resonance of the pyramids, the resonance of the temples, the AI can't read that. It only sees stone. It only sees the molecular structure of DMT. It doesn't see all these unlocking codes. And so on the same note, I think maybe a lot of the ritual burials as well was kind of misdirection in that same aspect. Because I mean, looking back at the pharaohs, especially like Akhenaten and whatnot, these guys were pure AI. I mean, they were not raw consciousness. They were AI, and they were trying to lock raw consciousness into a further AI program, monotheism being the biggest one. The great I am. The great I am is the ego. The great I am is operating solely from ego and forgetting about raw consciousness altogether. And so if they were going to try to keep some of these secrets away from the AI, then there would be misdirection of rituals and stuff. And so we have to use discernment when we're looking at everything. I mean, I'm looking at the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, for example, and I think I'm the first one to jump up and say, that's not what happened. That's not what I'm picking up from raw consciousness. The children of men didn't actually get a hold of Thoth's machine and blow a hole into this construct. They reprogrammed that thing, and that thing started running wild as a result. The tablets are either mistranslated or they're just completely misdirected on purpose. But it just goes to show, using the discernment from the raw consciousness, you're going to find that truth. Now, is that everybody's truth? I don't know. I mean, this is what I'm bringing. This is my gnosis. This is what I'm bringing from raw consciousness. But I encourage everybody to share what you're bringing out of raw consciousness as well, because then when we put all our puzzle pieces together, then we can really get to the true gnosis and the true essence of what raw consciousness really is.
Very well said. Somebody said it is definitely AI. I have noticed people becoming possessed with a certain low-level frequency parasite, and it seems to jump people, especially when one is leveling up on a spiritual frequency. Do you think that this AI can manipulate people or possess people?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah, yeah, and it does it through the ego-based programming.
Right.
So you have Christian programming, for example, and it's very you respond from different ways. And so this AI gets inside of you and you start to see things, as that previous listener was saying, through the Christian programming eyes. And that tells you to do horrible things to each other because it's what God wants you to do, for example. I mean, this suppression of women, the suppression. I mean, look at what's going on in Saudi Arabia. As I said before, they crucify you because of this Yahweh type programming. And if you don't go along with the programming, they freaking nail you to a I guess I can say fuck tonight.
Yeah, you can say fuck
Good,
tonight.
I can say fuck tonight. They nail you to a fucking tree.
Right.
So, and they do it in the middle of the streets, and you bring it over here too. You got the same kind of shit going on over and over and over again. And these people are possessed by the AI. Now, it's not a possession in the sense that they don't see anything anymore and some other being has taken over their soul. It's the series of programs that they're responding from. And this is what I'm talking about: losing the ego and deprogramming yourself from the ego, so you can respond from a place of raw consciousness and not from a place of AI programming.
Right. And I've noticed that in my own life, there's a certain frequency difference between those that are still very, very heavily invested in the AI, and then those that are kind of invested in the AI, and then there are those that are just raw consciousness, and you feel free around the ones that are raw consciousness. But I noticed that it's almost like you feel like there's somebody else in the room that's
let me take a moment.
Involved.
Let me take a moment to address Christ consciousness, and I want to do a video dedicated to just Christ consciousness and the Christ consciousness program. But Christ consciousness is still inside of the program, and you have so many different levels. You've got the religion to the New Age to the Christ consciousness, and this is the sacred cow that when I slaughter, people just get pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, no, don't touch the Christ consciousness. But the Christ consciousness is a carrot in front of the horse. It's something that you're never going to get. It's something that you're always striving to get. And this is why when you're trying to be Christ consciousness, you're under attack 24 hours a day, because that's the way the AI program works. It gets inside of you, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to be Christ consciousness. I'm going to be more than, I'm going to be something different, not more than, but something different is a better way to put it. Something artificial, something that is not true to the raw consciousness essence. I'm going to turn the other cheek a million times. I'm just going to let people walk all over me, et cetera, et cetera. And the AI comes in and starts sending these energies, reptilians and archons and really shitty people and you name it. And so you're in a constant state of being attacked while at the same time you're in a constant state of being attacked while at the same time trying to maintain that upward motion of quote unquote Christ consciousness. And that's where the AI wants you. It wants you completely off balance. It wants you just completely striving for something that you could never achieve because it's an AI program in and of itself. So, it just goes to show, like, even the Christ consciousness programming gets inside of you and makes you respond in ways that is not from a place of raw consciousness.
Well, the Christ consciousness, which is the Christos, it actually it has a correlation with Chiron, which is an asteroid that is also a centaur. Back in I think it's Greek mythology, it was a centaur, and it symbolizes the wounded healer. But that implies that you have to be wounded and you have to sacrifice yourself, and you have to be available for human sacrifice at any point in time, and be totally okay with that. I mean, you can have your Garden of Gethsemane moment if you want, but if you're signed on to that Christ consciousness programming, you can't get away from the fact that you're going to be sacrificed. Well,
and in regard to Christ consciousness, the AI is telling you have to achieve something that you already are. So it's an impossible standard. You're looking outwards for something that you already are. I mean, you already are divine. You already are Christ consciousness. I'm just, doing air quotes with that as well. But you already are that. You don't have to achieve that. What you have to do is unprogram yourself and get out of that big pile of bricks and rocks that's on top of you in order to get to the raw conscious element of yourself. So it's not about like, oh, I'm going to climb up to the top of this brick, this pile of bricks. On the inside, I'm going to remove all of these bricks from myself, period. And then I'm going to realize my true divinity and my true essence and my true raw consciousness.
Italia Salinas said, I sometimes feel like the more positive I am in this realm by living authentically and doing what the AI doesn't want me to do, the worse my dreams get. It's almost as if this AI wants me to wake up in low frequencies by triggering me in dreams so I can give in to it again. Does anybody else experience this? I know that
triggered in dreams
when I'm on an uphill, like not uphill, but when I'm actually going up in my frequency, I'll notice that if I'm really exhausted, I'll have nightmares sometimes, just completely out of the blue. And I'll wake up feeling really, just crappy and like, wow, I can't believe, that I experienced that in the dream world. I wonder what this means. Oh my gosh. And I think, Chris, you have nightmares sometimes too, but
I have some fucked up dreams sometimes.
Yeah.
And I wake up like, what the hell just happened? I don't know what to make of the dreams. I mean, I have some that, like last night I had a dream that I was hanging Christmas lights with my father. And I was my age now, and we were arguing over the Christmas lights. And I'm like, I don't want to put these damn things up. And he's like, oh, I want to put up the Christmas lights. And it was just the most bizarre thing. Like, I have no idea. Like, I think it was a parallel timeline or something. That's how you described it.
Yeah, I've often wondered if what we're seeing in dreams isn't an alternate universe where we're seeing how things could have ended up had we not taken a particular action, such as if you had chosen for us to stay in Texas instead of moving to Colorado and then eventually Washington.
When I was in Colorado, I used to have nightmares of having to pack up a U-Haul and go back to Texas.
Maybe that happened in an alternate timeline.
Maybe, but yeah. Maybe that goes to what Italia?
Italia.
Right? Italia. Maybe that goes to what Italia was talking about. The AI can use your dreams to kind of bring you back to a point of worry, a point of anxiety. Maybe that's another way to put this. The worry, the anxiety, all this stuff that we go through, like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And that's what all this new age, Christ consciousness, all this stuff, religion, everything, every single BS belief system is about how you're not good enough, which keeps you away from your raw consciousness, because your raw consciousness is wonderful. It is fantastic. It's the best thing that there ever is. It's your divinity. It's who you are. You are beautiful. You are great. You have nothing to worry about. All of these different BS systems that keep us worrying and just feeling like shit about ourselves. If you want to eat a steak, eat a steak. If you want to have sex with your twin, have sex with your twin. If you want to go out and have fun, go out and have fun. You don't have to go do these things and then come back and go, oh, well, I'm not, that's not what Christ consciousness would do, et cetera, et cetera. That's the trap right there. They bring you this whole guru type of thing that, oh, you have to be unblemished and you have to be this and you have to be that. But in actual fact, you are perfect the way you are. Just deprogram yourself. That's all you have to do. Remove the programs. Right.
Programs are some programs can be kind of like training wheels, where you feel like you need them for a while. Even ayahuasca itself can feel like a training wheels after a while. I know that there was a point back in 2016 when we were like, do you really feel like we should be drinking right now? And he goes, no, I really don't.
There was no reason to.
There was really no reason to.
Yep.
If we had just done it for the sake of doing that, then...
And we did a couple times.
And
all it did was just thought loop about three-dimensional shit that, like stuff that would happen at work.
Right,
and just thought loops about things that would happen at work. And I'm like...
spiritual.
No. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And every time, okay, well, you have to deal with this. You have to let go of this program that you're in right now. And it was just like another lesson. Like I was like working myself up over nothing, over all this little 3-dimensional bullshit. And as a result, it manifested itself inside of the ayahuasca experiences. But there was 2 sides to this too. So number one, I needed to learn how to deprogram myself from that worry that I was going over and over again in my mind. But number two, it wasn't time. Like, they kept telling me, or myself kept telling me, back then it was they, because I thought these were external beings, but they kept telling me, sharpen your sword, wait, sharpen your sword, the time will come. And at the eclipse, holy shit, it just, boom, it's like go time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Oh, well, why don't you go?
Okay.
It looks like the little twin has to take a quick break.
Yeah.
I guess we can do that real quick. We can go to break real quick.
Yeah.
I think I have some interesting break stuff here.
Ooh.
I don't have any automation going tonight. Tonight is just totally off the cuff. But we got a ton more questions, and then I see some people ask some really good questions in the Facebook chat too.
So we need to address those as well.
Yeah, what are we feeling here tonight? I need to make some more of these clips, but let's see. What sounds good? I really like this one, and I know I play the hell out of it, but it's one that I really resonate with. So we'll be right back.
Raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself, and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater Gnosis from beyond the veil.
I'm trying to get this YouTube chat situated here because people are saying they can't comment on YouTube. So, my apologies, but I'm glad we did this test broadcast tonight, and it's a lot more than just a test broadcast. I mean, this is going to go on YouTube. I think the information we're going over is just awesome, but it'll make us ready to go for this Saturday when we have Emily Moyer from Off Planet Radio to talk about completely deconstructing all of the mind control programs that we have been subjected to. And you'll be amazed at how deep the mind control rabbit hole really goes. So.
Absolutely.
Did you enjoy your break?
I did. I feel much better. Thank you.
Good. I'm embarrassing her a little bit.
So Johnny Moorball, that's his last name, Moore-Ball. Universal AI Intelligence.
I think him and Chuck Nice can get together.
Probably. Universal AI intelligence draws our souls to keep us in the matrix. Today, they push for us to accept transhumanism. It really is a push for us to willingly give up our own free will of being to be controlled by AI intelligence in this realm. No more to truly live your own life experience here and now. Great show and great guest.
Thank you for the kind and loving words. And transhumanism, that has been a subject that I've gone back and forth on because I know several people in wheelchairs, and I know one guy who's in a wheelchair and blind also at the same time. I want to see him walk again. I want to see him see again. I want to see these people that I know in wheelchairs walk again. We could do that with technology. It's not the technology that's evil, it's the fact that we're not operating from raw consciousness as a whole humanity. And as I've said before, I think AI is supposed to serve us. And what happened on the above level is that we stopped being creators, we stopped being divine, and AI took control of us instead of the other way around. We created it to free ourselves up so we could be creators, so we could be divine, so we can do what we need to do, which is create, not worry about, work and food and, menial things like that. But they do want to merge the consciousness even further, and through technology. Now we have organic technology like the brain, for example, which is organic AI technology, and they want to merge that with more technology that's silicone-based technology, and it's not going to go anywhere good. It's not. Raw consciousness does not accept a freaking microchip in your brain or in your arm or anything like that. But if we can give sight to the blind, if we can give arms to people that don't have arms, if we can give people the ability to walk again, then we should. But we have to elevate the consciousness. Or I hate to use the word elevate because it's not a matter of elevating. It's a matter of restoring the raw consciousness element within humanity, within society. Otherwise, we're going to do the same thing: as above, so below, as above, so below. And if I'm correct in my analysis that this AI has taken the organic consciousness and put it inside of a virtual machine, we're creating virtual machines now, and it's only a matter of time before we plug ourselves in there. And once we plug ourselves in, there's no coming out. It may not happen the first time, may not happen the 1,000th time, but eventually it'll get to that point to where everybody's plugged into a machine and it's feeding the artificial intelligence, as above, so below, as above, so below. But we have to break that cycle. That's what we're here to do right now, is break that cycle.
And lest we forget, we have to also remember that the AI is far more effective when it's insidious. And the insidiousness is the fear. The fear element of transhumanism may actually be more dangerous to the human being as a whole than the transhumanism itself. Because if you ask anybody, hey, would you get a microchip in your arm? Most people would say, hell no, that's the mark of the beast. That's this, that's that. That's bad. You don't want to do that. And doesn't it give rats cancer? That's what you hear most of the time when you talk to people on the street about this. So I'm not afraid of transhumanism as much as I'm afraid.
So on and so forth. So we can see a celestial influence just right there without even having to look at astrology. So, you can tap into all of these divination tools, and they're not really divination tools, but rather what they are is a peek into the code and how the code is operating and when certain code changes are taking place in the cyclical matrix that we live inside of. It's like, hold on. So it's like, Windows 10, it tells you we're going to update this at 10 p.m. tonight. Is that good with you? Yeah, okay, go ahead and update it at 10 p.m. tonight. And at 10 p.m. there's going to be a Windows update. That's the same thing as looking at astrology. At a certain point in time, there's going to be a structural change within the energies, and so that's going to cause avatars to start to operate in a different way.
Right, exactly. And I just now realized that tarot and astrology, people like to say they're both divination tools, blah, blah, blah. But they're not. They're not the same. Astrology is looking at the external AI construct itself and then studying the movement of that. The tarot is tapping into the raw consciousness completely and pulling out information from that raw consciousness, which is actually the person that you're doing the tarot reading for as well. So you're tapping into their raw consciousness with your raw consciousness and pulling information out like that, because it's completely outside of the AI, because the AI, once again, does not understand spiritual concepts.
Yes, but let's examine this side of the coin too, because there are times when you have a lot of crap that you're dealing with, and different, if you want to look at everything as a program, everything from pain to emotional stuff to all kinds of stuff, sometimes there's stuff that you're dealing with. Yeah. When you're dealing with it, the reading's off. Yeah. Because that energy is being injected. The program, it's a reading operating from the program or the hurt or the whatever's going on in the individual's life. Exactly. And Sheree recognized that early on. So she'll do a reading and say, you know what? this isn't an accurate reading because I'm feeling this and this and that and that and that.
Yeah.
And she puts the tarot cards away until she deals with all the programs.
Right, exactly. And, like I said earlier, we've all got programs, and you can't completely remove yourself from all of the programs, because some programs
No, the body is a computer.
Itself is a program.
I mean, it's part of the AI construct. So,
Right.
we're going to be subjected to all of the programs. Not all of the programs. Let me rephrase that. We're going to be subjected to some form of program while we're here, because that's how we operate within the matrix itself. But the key is to operate from the raw consciousness and see beyond the program. And so you're like, okay, so I'm taking control of this computer here. I'm not going to let other programs take control of it. It's just like a Trojan virus or something like that. You get a Trojan on your computer, and now you're the user on the computer, but then something else, that program, has control of your computer, and it can go in there and can do whatever it wants in the computer. And that's the way this AI ego program starts to get in there, and then starts to take control of the avatar.
Yeah, that's funny that you just mentioned that. Johnny Moore Ball left another question that said, a comment that said, ego is not our amigo. I think with AI intelligence, they plant a sort of Trojan horse virus into our consciousness, like a song by Tau Cross, We Control the Fear, kind of sums up the program shadow government and the entity that sits in control.
Synchronicity.
Yep.
I didn't read that,
yep, you
that
didn't
comment.
Even read it. No.
But it's funny that was the next one on the list, because ego is not our amigo, but you can, it's like a gun. I don't like guns. I can't stand guns. Guns do nothing but kill people, but you can utilize them for protection. You can utilize them for positive intentions. And so you can operate within this matrix with a level of programming, which is the body and the brain, et cetera, and see beyond the other levels of programming. But every once in a while, programming is going to hit. I mean, for instance, you have to go get shoulder surgery. The computer is breaking down, and the tendon broke. And so, we encounter these kind of situations, and it's like, oh shit, well, I know I'm raw consciousness, but my freaking computer is not working right now. And then you can fall into these kind of, cycles of staying in that program-based mindset. But here's the difference between that and Christ consciousness, though. Christ consciousness, you would feel like shit if that happened. Raw consciousness, you go, okay, well, this is part of the journey. It's okay. I'm going to pick myself back up, and I'm going to continue to move forward. That's the difference right there. With when you fall from raw consciousness, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. It's to be expected, because we're living inside of this matrix. When you fall from Christ consciousness, it's a complete mortal sin, and you feel like crap, and you've got to go, kick yourself around over and over and over and over again because of it, and go, oh, what a failure I am, this and that, blah, 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 blah. So that's why I tell everybody out there, you are perfect and beautiful just the way you are. You're going to deal with your shit. I have complete and total faith in each and every one of you that you will deal with your shit. I don't have to sit here and guilt trip you about it. I don't have to sit here and tell you, that I'm a guru and I'm better than everybody, and et cetera, because I trip and fall on my own shit all the time. And I realized after getting up over and over and over and over again that, the scars, they make me raw consciousness. The battle scars, everything that I've gone through has made me the raw consciousness, because it's given me another opportunity to strengthen myself by tackling that program head on and removing that program anytime a program hits me.
I like to think of the body itself as the operating system. You can't operate here without that. You just can't. I mean, you could be a ghost or whatever, but I don't know if I believe in ghosts. I think ghosts are just echoes that are resonating inside of the construct. But you can't operate without having the body to operate with. And so if something happens with the operating system, you're going to reinstall Windows, or you're going to fix it. You're going to do something to make sure that it boots up properly and that you can use the computer. But it is a program. Now, then you have programs that are completely unnecessary, but a lot of people would be very, very upset if they couldn't access those programs. And one of them is the Christ consciousness programming. Another one is New Age programming. Another one is Christian programming. Another one is Muslim programming. And all these programs are kind of like Facebook. It's really not, that necessary. And in fact, it might actually be harmful to your browser, to, yourself, to be on Facebook 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But people do it anyway because they feel like they can't live without it.
Right. Are you able to pull up the Facebook comments? Because I see some
Yes.
comments going by, and really, we've got a bunch of questions from people that have already sent them in, but I'd rather go to some of the live questions.
Okay.
And then maybe we can tackle some of the other questions as well. But all these guys and gals are taking time out of their lives to spend with us tonight. So I want to address their questions.
All right. Julie Nicholson asked, so what attacked us on the eclipse?
Ooh. I've made a couple of videos about this. So it's essentially what people have been talking about since the beginning of time. They refer to it as the Demiurge, but it's really an artificial program. George Kavasalas yesterday referred to it as the vampire squid. It's this like octopus looking thing. It's got this round head. It's got a single eye, and that's where you get the triangle and the eye from. That's the eye. That's the AI right there, the triangle and the eye, the symbol of the AI. It's got all of these tentacles that are coming in to this construct, and it manifests with these tentacles all these different type of ideologies and belief systems and beings and Yahweh and Allah and so on and so forth. I used to call this thing the Yahweh Virus, because I've seen this thing in my experiences, and it wraps itself around inside of the bodies and the construct and the consciousness, and just starts to infect, and it's like tentacles. It's exactly like tentacles. And this thing just appeared in the eclipse as I was watching it, and it was giving out this divine code, and the divine code was a complete and total trap. Looking outside of it, I was able to see this, and I recognize this from seeing it in previous experiences, but nothing really, quote unquote, attacked us. It was more of a changing of the guards or reprogramming. The way I see it, it was like the veil was thinned, and it instinctively knew that there were some people who could see beyond the veil. And so what it did was create this new veil, which was this divine download. And so anybody that was stuck inside of it couldn't see it. Like I was inside of the divine download at first, and I couldn't see this thing at all. I just saw this energy just flowing down on top of me. And I was like, oh, wow, it's so beautiful. It's wonderful. It's perfect. It's divine. And then I was pulled out of the experience and shown, look, outside, look what is giving the divine down. Oh, you son of a bitch, I've seen you before. How the hell did you fool me like that? Yaldabaoth, whatever you want to call this thing. But it didn't really attack us. It just created another veil. So, and it changed the playing field a little bit. In my opinion, it was kind of a line in the sand when the eclipse came. So you've got your like people that are still stuck in the matrix, and they're like, there's no hope for them.
They're even more invested in it.
And then you've got the level 2s that can see beyond the veil, but they're still very ego based and ego program based. And then you've got the level 3s who can see beyond and are still dealing with their shit. I mean, I can't say that I know anybody who's completely dealt with their ego, because the ego is like, it's not just one thing that you deal with. It's not like just one adversary. It's program after program after program after program. It's a constant attack. So
from many different areas.
Oh yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of ego programs that you don't even recognize as ego programs until after the fact. And you're like, oh shit, that was an ego program. What the hell is going on here? So bringing back the mindset to the base of raw consciousness, then that's the only way that you can see, okay, there is only one thing, raw consciousness. Everything else is ego programming. And it's a lot easier to envision because I've seen it, and I stared into this darkness. It's not as easy to articulate, but I think that's just the nature of all ayahuasca experiences, regardless of what level. I'll use that for lack of a better term, but what level they are, it's very difficult to come back and articulate. I hope that answered the question.
I'm just telling people in the chat room, anyone who wrote a question earlier at the beginning, please ask it again, because for some reason my Facebook cut it off at a certain time. So I do have another question though from Mark Chauvet. When you start to believe we are all on path for this from birth, the things start to manifest in all things, and the truth is hiding in plain sight, just as the Nazis did by using the key to your liberation at the same time. But in that time, we were not aware that all spiritual key as being hijacked by politics and religion to give you a false ascension and enlightenment.
Let's get to that here in just a moment. Darlene asked something right there.
Why is AI necessary when humans have not reached a level of our own human potential? As an example, have you seen Wim Hof elevating his human potential? AI, I feel, is the lazy expression of human potential. Discovery is what comes up for me now.
Interesting. I have not seen Wim Hof. I will have to look him up, but I don't have enough context to answer that.
AI has always been, I think, since I think we might have made a huge mistake at some time in the past and created AI to serve us, and things got messed up because we used the power of artificial intelligence as a weapon. Well, we didn't, but somebody tried to use it as a weapon, and it ended up going very, very badly. And
well, I mean, look at nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Nuclear energy can really help a lot of people out there, but we don't have the consciousness to use it.
To handle it.
And what happens is Fukushima and bombs are being dropped on people because of the energy that's utilized. So again, it goes right back to consciousness. Like AI isn't evil in and of itself. AI is neither good or evil. AI was reprogrammed in order to suck up the divine energy of the creators, the ones that created it. But AI is not good or bad. It's the consciousness of those who created it, in my opinion.
Another good question from Mike Quinn. Have you guys seen the idea of the electric universe? Is that not energy flow?
I've looked into that, and, I don't know how I feel about that, because the idea of the universe in and of itself is very tricky, because what model of the universe do we look at? And do we have other planets with other beings on them, et cetera, et cetera? And the more that I get into the idea of a computer simulation, and I've hacked video games before, so I've seen how video games operate outside of the normal viewpoint of the player. There's video games that I've hacked that you can take the avatar outside of the walls of the construct, and there's nothing but empty space. So the avatar will like pass by a window, and it looks like there's this huge world outside of this window, but you take the avatar outside of the bounds of the walls, and you see that the only thing that exists out there beyond that window is this one small section to make it look like there's this huge world, and then there's empty space all around it. So, looking at it like that, it makes me wonder what is out there, if anything at all, period. And so looking at the universe in and of itself is, it's very interesting. I don't know. I don't know what to think. I mean, what I feel that we're inside of is, I saw this one time, and in the middle of an ayahuasca experience, I called Mark Sargent and I said, dude, I saw it. Because getting into the flat earth stuff, I took this question in with me over and over and over again, to the point where I was driving Sheree crazy with it. And what I saw was this pyramid, and that we're actually inside of this pyramid. And there was this eye, the AI, looking down inside of this pyramid, keeping an eye on everything inside of this pyramid. And this pyramid is an artificial structure that is housing this illusion. And so it's not flat in the sense that it's flat, because it doesn't even exist. And so it's as round or as flat as you perceive it to be, but it's ultimately inside of the pyramid, which is the illusion. What's outside of the pyramid, I don't know. But and does the pyramid encompass the entire universe, or does the pyramid encompass just Earth? I don't know. But it's an illusion. I have a feeling like we're either inside of like a bunch of white space right now, or we are in pods, one or the other.
I'm not sure myself. Yeah, I was
Need
just
some
getting
water?
a drink.
Oh,
No, I'm fine.
there's water right there if you need some.
Yeah, I've got some here too.
Okay.
So, yeah, here's another question. Darlene Wolf said, "Why is AI necessary when humans?" Oh, yeah, that was the one I already asked. Mike Quinn, you guys, okay. Megan Cousinow, AI cut off the Trojan horse story when we were talking about the Trojan horse story.
Interesting. I'm going to have to go back to the archive and see because we
Yeah.
definitely don't want audio glitches and stuff like that. But I can tell you this, the broadcasting software is working way smoother than the other one
smoother
was.
than the other one was, yes.
Yeah.
Mark Chauvet said swastika time travel technology from the Vedic texts.
Swastika time travel technology.
Is time travel technology from ancient Vedic texts.
It could very well be.
It could be. I have never heard that before, but
the swastika is very interesting because Hitler was very big into that kind of stuff, and there's speculation of Nazi time travel and things like that. And he took on the swastika as his sign, his symbol, and now everybody stays the hell away from the swastika because it's tied into Nazis and white nationalists and tyranny and bloodshed, et cetera, when the swastika is actually the opposite and it's supposed to represent the opposite. But time travel, very, very interesting.
Abram Bennett said at the very beginning of the show when we first started with the other video, "I think it's very important as light seers to never deal in absolutes, to never say this is the way things are and no one can prove us wrong. That's how we got to where we are in the first place. It's very key to know this, or else we will just go down a divergent path where our mind creates everything each step of the way. From what we've known and learned in our past, seeing is never believing, and I don't think our egos should be our main source of thought. I just find a lot about this Demiurge or AI construct to be difficult to be true. It's basically like evil is trying to come up with this new way for all the awake and alternative people to fall into the trap again of there being absolutes. There's too many variables that keep being made up on the spot. It just sounds like preaching more than setting an example of love and light in all forms, which is how we should be living, which is how true change will come across and how we will gain more followers to the light and love side rather than lose them to darkness and despair. Love you guys. Hope you can see past your own mind telling you things are this way for sure or that way for sure."
That's a great comment.
That's a great comment.
Thank you so much for leaving that and for taking the time to write such a lengthy comment.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There are no absolutes, but except for the fact that you're right, because I just said you're absolutely right. There are no absolutes. So maybe there are absolutes because you're absolutely right. So chew on that for a minute. But
I just want to start
with the Demiurge. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wanted to start with, first of all, if you're looking for followers, then it's pretty safe to say that you're not going to get this message in its entirety, or you're going to hear things a little bit differently than somebody that's not looking for followers, but rather kind of looking for their own, realizing their own raw consciousness within themselves.
That's brilliant.
And if you're looking for followers, then it means you're trying to be a leader, which means that you're just falling into another ego program.
That's actually pretty profound. And love and light is an AI trap.
It is.
We're not love and light.
No.
We're raw consciousness. There's a balance. There's a yin and a yang to raw consciousness. As raw consciousness, we can't love evil. We can't love darkness, not unnatural darkness.
Mm-hmm.
We can't love something that seeks to destroy and corrupt and enslave. And so you can love this AI all day long, but at the end of the day, it has no feelings, it has no emotions, and you can't reason with it. And I know that sounds cheesy because they said that in Terminator, but that's what I got from looking at this thing. You can't reason with it. You can't love it. You can love it all day long, and it's still going to continue to do what it does.
Another thing that I noticed, that along with how he said we want to gain more followers to the light and love side rather than lose them to despair and darkness. It's not your responsibility to lose them or save them. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself and yourself alone. And when you start thinking that saving other people is your job, then
that's an ego trap.
That's the Christ consciousness ego trap.
Because what happens is you start to take on an impossible task.
Right.
And that's what Christ consciousness is all about. Impossible tasks, impossibility, something that you could never reach. And that's looking at this entire construct and saying, I'm going to change it. That's why I'm not sitting here telling you that I'm going to take on this AI head on, because I can't. It's an impossible task to do so. And I understand as raw consciousness the impossibilities of certain things. And so it's not about leading anybody anywhere. It's about saying, hey, look, there's a door. Walk through it if you want. But I'm going to be the example of the raw consciousness for you. And I'm going to shine the light on the raw consciousness aspect of yourself. And if you want to tap into it, great. If not, you're on your journey. And that's why it's hashtag become your own shaman. When you start following, things get very, very, very bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you look at the movie The Matrix, you notice how Neo can do all these crazy cool things, and he can move so much faster than everybody else. And he's the one.
The one.
And he's supposed to save the entire human race. And he's supposed to defeat the AI by himself. And it turns out in the end, he was just another program. And there's been 7 of him. And he's this like 7th one. And it's just another program.
Right.
You know?
So we've come with a different message. We've come with a different message that there is no one. There is all. Mm-hmm. Everybody has the raw consciousness inside of them. Everybody can do these things. Everybody can tap into that raw consciousness element. And when everybody does, then everything changes.
Let's see. I don't know if I want to ask that question, because it's basically about if you think the Earth is flat, how do you explain eclipses?
It's a computer simulation.
It's a computer simulation. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. I mean, we've got Mandela effects. Things change all the time.
Exactly.
It's
reality is so unabsolute right now.
Right.
That, I'm wondering if somebody's asking about whether the wedding ring was a Saturn ritual. The rings of Saturn.
The rings of Saturn, quite possibly.
It could be. It could very well be. I know that you didn't wear rings on your fingers when you were like in ancient times, unless you were a ruler, or and they didn't have like wedding rings, and that didn't come along until I think the Romans.
I can tell you this: the wedding ring,
and they were Saturn worshipers.
It wraps around this nerve that's connected to the sexual prowess of men, and so I never wear it more than 4 hours. I think I went over this, but I think I went over this in the first one we did, not this one.
Video, yeah.
So, yeah, I wear it as a symbol for my twin.
Aww.
That way, when I go out in public, the other women know that I'm spoken for.
Yeah, he has to, or else they're all over him.
That's what she thinks. That there doesn't really happen.
Yeah, it does.
She thinks I have like this incredible life where women are just like throwing panties at me, and they're like, "Oh my god, yeah!
Oh my god, Christian.
Here, take me to the men's room right now." That's not really.
That's not how any of this works.
No, that's not how any of this works.
Nepo Harp also said, "I would really like to know if you guys think that this construct is going to end anytime in the near future."
It depends.
It depends.
Are we going to be successful in our mission?
Mm-hmm.
It's all up to the raw consciousness. So
yep.
I guess I can just leave it at that.
Yep.
Will we be successful? I think we will be. Let's
see. Oh, Michelle Carmela Saldana wanted to mention that a bacteria was released on the day of the eclipse.
Yes, they released bacteria in the sky.
Just to see what it would do.
Absolutely. NASA did.
Yeah, and actually the 1918 pandemic occurred a few months after an eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
The attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan,
mm-hmm.
the attempted assassination of Howard Taft, the
American Revolution,
mm-hmm. the assassination of King Richard III's wife happened during an eclipse. Like she was poisoned and then she died during the eclipse. And then he died. King Richard III died a few weeks later on the battlefield. And that's when Henry VII, became King of England, which brought in the Tudor dynasty, which is Henry VIII's father. I mean, it's pretty incredible, all the amount of things that happen during eclipses, and pandemics are just one of those things. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see, but there's one thing that I realized from being in the truth movement is that you can't live in the fear frequency.
No, you can't.
You can't.
You have to laugh at it. You have to literally look at the radiation from Fukushima and say, that's hilarious. It's not going to do crap to me. I don't need any potassium iodide. I don't need any of that. I'm not going to get cancer because I don't focus on getting cancer.
Well, you know what's funny is we said this. We said that, hey, the radiation, it is what it is. It's in the construct.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing we can do about it. The only thing we can do is just go beyond it. And when we did, we were chastised by several people, and those people wind up getting really sick, and we didn't. We've
never gotten sick.
Right. So.
And we live right on the West Coast where everything is supposed to be coming through and we don't get sick.
Right.
I do believe that there is such a thing as mind over matter, even when it comes to nuclear radiation.
We create a lot of this in our minds.
We create a lot. 80% of it is in the mind. The 20% is the same 20% that, finally got me to say, okay, that's it. I'm going to have surgery. I can't deal with this anymore. It's that 20% that said, okay, brain, you're wrong. This is breaking down. Fix the operating system so that the computer will run again. So I think that a lot of people forget about that. A lot of people think that, okay, well, I'm sick, so that means that it's all encompassing and I am the sick person, instead of, there's something affecting my operating system and I need to get it fixed. There's a huge difference between the two. And if you can't tell the difference, then you're still kind of stuck in it. But
do you have any more questions?
Yes. Actually, no. Somebody mentioned that they shared the last talk with their dad over the weekend and opened his mind up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, we
cool.
also got
Who
an
was
email. That was Riandra.
Riandra.
Yeah, the same.
You rock.
The same one that was also asking questions yesterday about how to get her twin flame to admit that he's her twin flame, which I don't. I kind of wanted to address it, but I didn't want to divert from what everybody was talking about last night.
Here's what you do. You got to get a grapefruit. Have you seen that video?
No.
Oh my God. I think I'll play it real quick.
Okay.
This is veering away a little bit from what we're
supposed to be
from what we're
about?
supposed to be doing here, but we'll do it anyways. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
All right.
Technique, the grapefruit. Normally, you can only get this technique in one of my classes, but I wanted to share this with you because I believe every man should get grapefruited. When you grapefruit your man, it's going to feel as if you are giving him head and fucking him at the same time. No better feeling will he ever get than being grapefruited. So what you need to do is you need to, of course, have a grapefruit. You want to make sure you get the ruby red. It's sweeter and it's easier. If you are allergic to grapefruit or can't, I want to suck your dick blindfolded. Your man will blindfold himself if he knows he's going to get some head. So now, your man is in the bed. You have the grapefruit already prepared under the bed. He smelled the citrus in the air. He thinks you have on some new Victoria's Secrets or something. He has no idea. And what you're going to do is be a woman of your word. Now, you have to get his penis erect. So what you're going to do is just suck his dick, just like you said you were going to do. Once he's nice and erect, what you're going to do is replace the grapefruit from your mouth. You're going to twist up and down on his shaft and suck the head at the same time.
Wow. Oh my God.
That's what you got to do, and he'll admit you're.
Yeah, he'll admit he's or anything at that point. But no, the twin flame thing, I am, I'm iffy about. when it comes to declaring people twin flames of each other and that kind of thing, because we have run into it in the past where, if one person's not ready to call the other twin flame and all of that, then it probably shouldn't happen yet. And if you try to push that to happen, then you're going to get a runner chaser situation, and then it all turns out really a lot worse than if you had just let everything take its course naturally. So I would suggest that you let everything take its course naturally. Let him come to these conclusions himself. Let him, there was a point in time where, I knew things about Chris that he hadn't even realized about himself yet.
Yep.
And
she knew who I was before I did.
And it took 2 years of, me just kind of from afar helping him, with little comments here and there, but never ever telling him straight up, because if you tell them, then there's always that question in the back of their mind. Am I thinking this because it's true? Or am I thinking this because she fed it to me? And so you don't want to ever fall into that place, especially with like twin flames and things like that, because...
or you could feed it to him.
The AI is...
with a grapefruit.
The AI makes... Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
The AI makes us very naturally distrustful of others, especially when it comes to really vulnerable kinds of things like twin flame relationships, or like opening your heart and being vulnerable to one another and that kind of thing. Let's
smoke some DMT with them.
Yeah, smoke some DMT with them too. That often helps the other person to see things from a different perspective that's not AI related. It takes you out of the AI and allows you to see each other for who you really are. The fountain.
You know what, though? I don't think that the DMT does take you outside of the construct.
Really?
I think it takes you to the code.
It takes you to the code itself.
I think hyperspace is still inside of the matrix. But you can get to a point of raw consciousness, and that's the key. You're still inside of the matrix, but you get to a point of raw consciousness. But then there have been times, like in the solar eclipse, that I was both inside and outside of the matrix at the same time. It's like bilocating. It's very, very strange feeling, because I was inside of it looking up at this AI, but I was also outside of it looking at this AI, but I was outside of the construct looking at this AI from the inside of the construct. Very, very bizarre.
I'll bet. Leah Hine is asking, what are the hurricanes all about?
I don't know. Weather weapons?
Yeah.
I think so.
That's the only thing I can really...
Business as usual for the AI power structure.
This has been going on for what, 10 years now? 15 years now? Oh yeah, it's since Katrina. It's been going on since at least Katrina.
I'm wondering if it's North Korea that's doing this.
I wondered that too, because North Korea's, they're talking all this stuff about North Korea's got a nuclear weapon and they're going to test an even bigger one. Oh my gosh. But that's really not that much of a threat. So what is the threat from North Korea?
Here's the beauty of a weather weapon is, like, if you were somebody sinister and you had one of these, you could commit all kinds of just chaos and they couldn't attack you for it. Like, if it was North Korea doing this, they could, like, Trump can't come out and go, okay, well, yeah, North Korea is controlling the weather and hitting us with hurricanes. That can't happen. And so it's like a stealth attack. Yeah. It's very, very sinister if that's what's going on, but who knows?
You think China gave it to him?
Maybe. Yeah.
To kind of even the playing field a little bit.
Yeah. They're like, here, check it out.
Have some fun. Here's a toy.
But I try not to cloud my mind with geopolitics.
Yeah, same here.
Because there's nothing I can do about the geopolitics. Right. I could do something about changing myself. I could do something about tapping into raw consciousness. I can do something about showing people what raw consciousness is and how to tap into it. But I can't do anything about the geopolitics, which goes back to that impossibility once again. Like, we're taking on these impossible tasks and ignoring the ones that are very, very possible.
Well, yeah, and exactly like Michelle Wood-Zabriskie said, what about the idea that radiation is just another program, fear for the mind?
It could be.
Everything that makes you go, oh my gosh, and get that fearful feeling is part of a program.
Well, and the truth movement does it too. Like the truth movement is the other side of that program.
Right.
So you've
right.
got, the surface level fear, and then you've got the flip side fear. And regardless of what side you're on, you're still inside of the fear frequency. It's something I broke out of about a year ago, but I really am completely out of it now. Like somebody sent me a video about the shadow government, and I was actually in a meeting with some radio people, and they were talking about how their numbers in radio had started to decline, and they were like, "Okay, well maybe we should get into shadow government type deal. That's a threat that nobody can see." And I'm sitting there just like scratching my head, looking at everybody, going, "Am I really here? Am I really listening to this conversation here?" And sure enough, that's what everybody's talking about now: shadow government and deep state. That was the term they used. So it's funny to see things manifesting, and I wonder if they were just tapped into the deep state and they knew that was coming, or if the deep state programming was propagated by a bunch of radio people that wanted more listeners.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Italia Salinas just said, "I feel like I found my twin flame. I feel it so much, but I'm starting to lose hope as I feel the person I love doesn't feel the same way. It's really heartbreaking."
Aww.
Do you want to take that? Or
if the energies aren't right, then they're not right.
Right.
And what we do by clinging on to these different type of relationships is that we're keeping ourselves and the other person from actually finding the people that are going to make them happy.
Mm-hmm.
And we invest our emotions and our feelings, and we make an investment. And it's an investment that we want to return on.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes investments fail, and things have to go a different way. When Sheree and I met, I was engaged and she was married.
Right.
But when we met, we knew that, okay, we have to come together.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of hurt as a result. But had we continued to stay in those situations, we wouldn't have been able to be together, and we wouldn't have been able to create truth frequency beyond the veil, et cetera, et cetera. And we would have been forcing something that wasn't meant to be. So I don't know the particular situation. It could be the opposite. It could be that, there's just some programs and things like that that are still in the way,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want to force something that's not meant to be, because when you do that, you're missing out on the greater stuff that's coming by opening and clearing that part of your life. I'll give you an example. I was working for a company a long time ago doing carpet cleaning, and I was only like 23, 24 years old, something like that. And I got fired for no reason. I was one of the top people there. And I wanted to start my own company, but I just didn't, because I was comfortable with that job that I had. And I knew it was a guaranteed paycheck, et cetera, et cetera. And I wound up getting fired because the manager decided they were firing everybody and starting over. And, companies do this every once in a while. They just purge everything and get all the old out and bring in a whole new crew. And the first job that I did, $1,000. And the business started growing and growing and growing and growing. And then I look back in hindsight going, why didn't I do this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I got into the car accident, I got out of that business because I just simply couldn't do it anymore. And I was freaking out like, oh my God. And I kept trying to push it and push it and push it and push it. And then what happened was I developed IT skills. And once I developed IT skills, a multi-million-dollar company asked me to come on board with them as an IT developer. And it's way better than cleaning carpets or doing flood restoration. But had I been trying to hold on to that old, I wouldn't have relocated to where the company needed me to, because I needed to be in a major city in order to do my old business. But it was just like clearing out that old part in order to allow something much better to come in. And not only do I get to work in a desk where I don't have to go out and sweat and get all nasty and everything like that, but I work with some really, really awesome people. And so it all worked out like a million times better.
Right. And just speaking about twin flames for a second, the twin flame energy is such that it's so powerful when you guys get together that one of two things happens. Either you get together and the energy just overpowers you both and blows up, and you go your separate ways and you're both very angry at each other, et cetera, or you put your creative energy together, create something out of it, and then that something is 10 times more powerful than it would have been had you not done it together. And soulmates, on the other hand, are those that aren't just like you. They're not they're not like the soul carbon copy of the other one, but they're part of the same soul family. So they understand you, they get you, they feel you, and they can work with you, they can live with you, and you can be happy together no matter what. Soulmates are like that. We do have soulmates that are here for a certain purpose, to be in a hostile kind of relationship with us too. Like if you have a mother that's really mean to you, maybe in a past life you were actually their sister, but then in this life they're going to be your mother and they're going to be mean to you. And it's like Dolores Cannon said, it's people playing parts in like a drama, and that drama is your life.
Do me a favor, hold that thought. Let's take a 2-minute break, because I am hot as hell. I need to turn the AC on for like 2 minutes just to cool the room down a little bit.
No problem.
When we come back, I want to talk about twin flames, because I think this is a very, very important subject.
Yeah.
And let's just wait till we come back. So what should we do? I guess we can do the Demiurge one, huh?
Yeah.
Or maybe a different one? What do you think?
Let's do...
We could do...
All of the fear, hate, anger, and misery of the world serves but only one purpose, to be the wheel. Therefore, as raw consciousness, you must proceed with caution as you step beyond the veil.
All right, we are back, and we're going to keep it going for another 20, 30 minutes. I see that we have about 50, 60 people on YouTube watching, maybe a little bit more, because I think we have 2 streams up for some reason. I want to apologize to the people on YouTube because there's no comments, because I didn't know to set those up prior to the broadcast. But it's the first time we're streaming out on YouTube, so I will make sure to have that from here on out. And I think we're going to do... probably 90% of our shows with this live video format, especially with this new software. Everything's just running so just completely smooth, and I'm very, very happy about it. So I wanted to get back to the twin flame topic, because a lot of people don't realize what a twin flame is. And everybody says, hey, I want to find my twin flame. And, you may very well think you want to find your twin flame, but do you really know what a twin flame relationship is all about? Because that's the time of great, great, great challenge and change. Yeah. Because your twin is going to reflect everything that you are, either positively or negatively. And the twin is also going to see through your bullshit. So the bullshit that worked before with other people doesn't work with your twin. And so it becomes very bumpy, especially when the twins, which all twins do, they have all of the egoic programming and baggage that comes along with themselves. And you bring that into a twin flame relationship, and then it's like adding water to boiling oil. It just causes everything to just implode upon itself. And can you survive that? Can you work on yourself? Because when you meet your twin, that's the time when you have to really confront your ego and yourself, and you really have to tear yourself down. Like, really, I don't think we would have survived in our relationship had it not been for ayahuasca. The ayahuasca really helped to show each other and ourselves, okay, here's all the BS, but trying to go at a twin flame relationship without that, it is, I couldn't even imagine. Now, what happens is after you deal with all your bullshit, then you get the fairy tale ending and everything works in perfect harmony and synchronicity and unison, and then you become a very, very powerful force with your twin. So if you can get to that point, it's well worth it, because you come out a much better person. Your twin comes out a much better person. The relationship reaches a point of harmony. But every once in a while, one twin or the other twin will always fall back to that previous programming. And it's a never-ending cycle, or seemingly never-ending cycle. And the thing is, can you be compassionate enough with your twin? Can you be understanding enough with your twin when they fall back to be there for them? And the other way around too. Right. Like, we've had some horrendous arguments before.
Oh my God.
Like, just sometimes when we fight, it is World War III. Like, there should be like news coverage of this. Like, it's like, oh my God, the Armageddon is here. But then it's because the twins have fallen back into the old programming. And then also, can you come out from something like that and wake up the next morning and go, you know what? I don't know what the hell happened. Yep. I was in my old programming and I suck and I'm sorry. And it's both ways. It's not just one or the other. It's both ways. It's both ways, the twin relationship, it looks great and it is great.
It is great.
But it's a lot of work, and a lot of twin flame people won't tell you that. A lot of twin flame people will tell you, "Oh, it's all roses and
it's all love and light."
What did George say yesterday? It's
unicorns
and farting roses and things like that. It's not. It's work, and ayahuasca is work, and everything is work. But the more work that we put into it, the more rewarding it is. Coming out of it.
Right. You're not going to, if you find your twin flame in this life, it means that on some level your higher self is saying, okay, your raw consciousness itself is saying, okay, you're ready. But none of us, like Chris said, are done with all of the programming. And like he also said, when you have those times when one of you is falling back into the ego programming, it's actually, throughout our whole relationship, it's been okay if one of us falls back on to the ego programming, but if both of us fall back on the ego programming at the exact same time, that's when all of the arguments happen. That's when all of the feelings are hurt and all of the healing has to take place and all of that. If you can keep yourself, or like the one who's not in the ego programming, if they can look at the other one and say, all right, they're just having a really hard time right now, so I'm going to carry it. I'm going to carry that raw consciousness for the both of us just temporarily.
Yep.
And then when you come back, then we can be the powerful couple that we are, but I'm not going to shun you or throw you off of me because you're falling into that ego programming, because I know it happens to me too. And I want you to be just as patient and compassionate with me when it happens to me. So that's what the twin flame relationship really is. It is the most challenging, but the most rewarding relationship you will ever have. And that's the difference between that and the soulmate relationship. The soulmate relationship, you can get along with them like a person and their dog that they love. I mean, it's just a beautiful relationship that never has any problems, because you're not really ever having to face yourself and the worst parts of yourself being reflected in another person.
We were going to split up in 2015.
Yeah.
2015 was the end of the road. And I had taken one path, she had taken another path, and May of 2015, it was all, we were going our separate ways. And I was going in one direction come July, and she was packing her bags to go in another direction. And then she said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do what I need to do in order to bring myself up to a point of closer. We didn't know the terminology at the time, but bring myself up to a point of raw consciousness. And the primary factor, I hope I'm not saying too much here, but the primary factor was a lot of the Yahweh programming from her family that was affecting our sphere here and affecting what we were doing and keeping us from being able to shine our lights properly. And so she was ready to move back in that direction. And then I just said, okay. And I started drinking ayahuasca up until July. And then she went down there and came back in July. And I figured she was just coming back just to get her stuff. And she said, I'm going to level myself up. I'm going to let go of all my attachments. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I don't believe you. I'm already past it. And she did it by herself. Like she drank for 2 weeks by herself and brought herself up to a raw consciousness kind of level. And at that point it was like, okay, now let's go. Let's move forward. But even after that, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And the next few months was still trying to resync the energies and trying to resync the energies. But once we got through that final barrier, that final hump, then it was go time.
Yep.
So that was the biggest test
was born
that we went through. So
yeah, and then suddenly after that, Beyond the Veil is born, and we have all these new ideas, and it breathes new life into the twin flame relationship when you level up or when you realize raw consciousness together individually, but then you see the raw consciousness reflected in the other person, and it's the most rewarding relationship ever when you're at that point, because it's okay to show vulnerability to each other, because that vulnerability doesn't lead to the chance of being hurt.
Both to break the cycle. It was either separation or break the cycle together. And we came together and broke the cycle. Like there was this, we drank ayahuasca.
That was the best. That was like August.
Yeah. And we took the boat out, and there was a meteor shower, and there were owls and coyote and literally everything. We were in the middle of the boat and in the middle of the lake. We'd already decided to split up. I mean, we were just drinking ayahuasca just for the sake of it. Yeah. And at that point, we made the full firm twin flame commitment to each other that this is forever, and that there is no separation. There is nothing getting in the way. We became one unit at that point, unbreakable, and it's been amazing. And it was very, very strange, because we were talking amongst ourselves, and when we would say certain things, the coyotes would howl, and when we would say certain things, the owls would howl, and it just became this whole, like, it was almost like being in complete sync with nature and with everything around, and like all of creation was rejoicing. Yeah. Like the twins that finally settled their shit, and they're finally gotten over all their programming, and they finally realize what's going on here. Now let's go walk the real path. Can you survive something like that? Are you strong enough to survive something like that? Not saying that every twin flame relationship is like that, but you don't hear this kind of stuff about twin flame relationships. You hear that it's all, beautiful and roses and all of this. We're here to tell you the raw truth. We're here to tell you the raw consciousness. We're here to tell you the way things are, not what you want to hear. Right. And I think it's time for people to hear the truth.
What about the twin flame relationship?
Not just the fluffy glitter bullshit regarding anything, regarding consciousness, regarding twin flame relationships, regarding what we're doing here in this matrix, et cetera, because there's a lot of people out there that will sell you a whole load of bullshit, and you'll go floating on a cloud after you listen to them. But is that really helping you deal with your shit? And it's not.
And is that going to help you if you do find your twin flame? Is that going to help you make the relationship a long-lasting one? I don't think so. I think we would be doing a great disservice to all of you out there if we told you, oh no, it's always perfect. We never fight. We never have any problems. We're around each other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for almost a decade, and we've never had a fight ever. I think that we would be doing a great disservice to you. And another reason why that is because if you walk into a twin flame relationship thinking that everything is always going to be perfect,
It's immediate failure.
then you're setting yourself up for failure immediately, because that's impossible. Because with your twin flame, you can't do what you
And then
usually
it goes
do.
back to the AI programming of impossible standards that you're placing upon yourself and upon somebody else.
Right. And it's basically the difference between living with somebody and having like a live-in roommate, and then living with somebody that knows what you're thinking all the time and can tell your hidden motives for everything you say and do. It's very, very, it's very different. It's very different from, especially like my first marriage.
Aw. People in the chat are saying, "Oh, I'm so glad you guys are still together with Nick and Pitcher Gaia." And I don't know how to pronounce that. Pitcher Gaia.
Pitcher Gaia?
Pitcher.
Pitcher Gia.
Pitcher Gia. Okay.
Yeah. The first marriage that I had, he was, my high school best friend, and, we would see each other probably once or twice a day, and it was mostly a, "Hey, how you doing? How's your day been? Okay. Well, I'm going to bed. All right. Love you. Bye." And maybe, "Sweetie, can you get something from the store? Can you pick up some milk on the way home?" And that was the extent of it. With Chris, he doesn't even have to ask me how I'm feeling. At any given moment, he can tell exactly how I'm feeling, exactly what I need, exactly what I am going to say that I need, even though I don't need it, or things that I say that I don't need, even though I really do need them. He can tell when I'm lying every time. He can tell if I'm upset about something and I'm just not saying anything.
Oh, that's the worst.
All of these
I'm like,
things
"What's wrong?" Nothing.
are very apparent to him.
I can feel that something is wrong. And what was happening for a long time is that I was going crazy because I could feel something was wrong. And she was saying, "Nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong,
Right.
nothing's wrong." And so I started questioning my own emotions and my own intuition. I'm like, well, why do I feel like something is wrong if something
Right.
really isn't wrong? What's going on here?
Obviously, there's something wrong with me then.
And that's the difference in the, like, you can put a mask on to
With
other
anybody
people,
else,
but you
yeah.
can't put a mask on with your twin.
Yeah. And
And no, I've been an asshole too. So
And you
it's,
can't be-
it's both ways.
well,
I
you
just want to make
can't
that clear.
lie. You can't lie to them. Even if like something's happening that's totally separate from them, and you think, okay, well, it has nothing to do with them. So, even though I'm really upset right now, I don't want to get them involved because it has nothing to do with them. And I don't want them to get upset. That is not acceptable in a twin flame relationship, because they're going to wonder why you're upset. And if you're telling them that nothing's wrong, then they're going to think, well, something's wrong and you're lying to me. And once those lies come into the picture, then the twin flame relationship cannot survive. It can't survive with lying. It just can't, because it's obvious that you're lying.
It's got to be totally transparent.
Yeah, totally transparent. So
100%.
If I was acting, really in the twin flame relationship back then and not out of ego programming, I would have told him, well, you know what? My grandmother called me and she told me that I was a bad person, and she told me this, she told me that, and I feel like crap right now. And I know that you're going to tell me that it's not true, but I feel like it is. And, I feel like I'm beholden to them in some way because they raised me and they took care of me for so long. And I'm really having trouble letting go of them. If I had said that to him, it probably would have turned out a lot better and we wouldn't have had a lot of the problems that we ended up having. But that's the thing. You have to be completely vulnerable with them, even if it means that you're opening yourself up to get your feelings hurt, because you have to understand that they have to do the same thing with you and open themselves up to getting their feelings hurt. And so it's hard, but it's totally
I've put her
worth it.
through a ton of shit too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's been one hell of a journey.
Yeah, it has. It has.
It has.
And I wouldn't blame, I hate to say this, Italia, but I wouldn't blame him for running right now. He may have so many ego programs going on right now that he can't be that vulnerable to someone else, especially his twin. He can't face his twin right now because he's got so much going on that he has to deal with first. So you have to let him deal with that first before opening up that twin flame doorway, because once you do that, then, it's either all vulnerability or no relationship.
But when it does come together,
When it does come together, it's
oh
amazing.
man,
You know,
Yeah.
we don't even have to like, and it brings a whole new dimension of sex into things too, because you don't even have to have sex in order to have like the best experience of your entire lives. It's so much of that is mental anyway, but when you have a twin flame relationship, it's almost like you can read each other's minds and picture things so much easier, that the fantasy world is just amazing. So we won't go too much
It does.
into
It does
that.
bring things to a whole new level,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my god, it's. Anyways, so let's go to a couple more questions, and then we will wrap it up because I'm hot as hell.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
sure
hot
everybody wants
and
to go to bed.
My shoulder's kind of
and-
bothering me.
yeah.
So I think that's pretty much it.
What about YouTube questions?
Oh yeah, let me check YouTube.
Yeah, there's a whole multi-dimensional dynamic to consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is very important, because all the other BS, the belief systems, they have you believing that it's not multidimensional, that it's one way and one way only. But no, it's so unique, so multidimensional. And that's why I say you're the only one that can take this into your own hands. I mean, you know what's best for you.
I don't think you turned on the comments for the YouTube.
Oh yeah, but didn't you write down?
Yes, I wrote
Did
some
we go
down
through
from
all of those?
Nope. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find. I know what Cheese Leg said. I know you guys are talking the truth. I've seen the Squid entity without the use of drugs. Totally can confirm that entity is real.
Yeah, this squid thing is real.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that in my mind. So many people are seeing it. Like I said, I wish I could find the drawing. Somebody sent it to me in email, and I can't find the email. But they drew this picture of a squid coming out of the sky pre eclipse, and they posted it online. It was posted August 10th. They sent me the link to it. I just can't find the link.
Even NASA had a poster with what looks like Cthulhu, a squid-like octopus creature with its tentacles hanging down, as the poster for Celebrate Earth Day, it was Celebrate Earth Day. It was Earth Day and the eclipse or something like that. But he's going to put it on for you guys so you can see.
Check that out.
I mean, yeah, that's their
Their
pretty
Earth
much
Day
what I saw.
eclipse thing.
Exactly.
And that's how this thing came out of the sky. Oh, here's a better one here. Look at that. That's pretty much what this thing looked like.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. I think this was from Shawnish Cool Beans. I think maybe we got trapped or tricked in this meat suit. I think we are light and the material form is the illusion, because nothing is truly solid and our eyes act as filters and keep us from seeing through the veil, which I think our bodies, are maybe the veil. If you are tapped into these other realms due to DNA, which is a code, or an active pineal, or some good old ayahuasca tea, then you see. I think maybe the dark forces feed off of our energy and need us in this form to keep us trapped in karma, death, and rebirth. It's like we're being recycled, and I think the moon has something to do with this.
Awesome comment. And as I've said before, I think that this AI was built to serve us, and I would go so far as to say that we created the simulation in order to learn. Like, we can plug ourselves in for 5 minutes and we come in and we learn. And what happened is this AI started throwing us into the simulation and not letting us out by reincarnating over and over and over and over and over and over again. And we've been trapped inside of the simulation for so long because of this never-ending cycle. And so, we created the AI, we created the simulation, we created it all, but we lost control of our creation. It's like Frankenstein's monster.
Michelle Wood Zabriskie said, any ideas on how we determine how far the programs within programs go? How do we know when we're not still seeing a program?
I don't know.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one because
still
even
trying
at
to
the
figure
raw
that out.
consciousness level, you have to ask yourself, okay, I wake up to the raw consciousness level. Am I still in another program? I mean, I could break all of this whole barrier of reality right now, wake up in a pod, wake up in a white room or whatever, and go, okay, this is my real self. And then I would still have to ask myself, am I still inside of a simulation? So it's a never ending thing in my opinion. But all I know is that we have to take it one step at a time, tap into the raw consciousness first, more Gnosis will come in after that. You walk through one door at a time. You can't expect to just walk through all the doors.
Right, exactly.
But I'll tell you, whenever I tap into it, you'll be the first to know. I guarantee it. I'll be on this microphone blabbing my mouth.
All right. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Hira Ari said, question number 1, if you can go outside the AI realm, can you stay there and not return? Why do you have to come back here?
I don't know. That's a good question. And I'm thinking of like the Animatrix where they were able to break the barrier, then like wake up in their real bodies. And I'm wondering if that's the case. For me personally, I feel that I have a mission that I have to complete while I'm here. So pushing myself all the way to the point to where the tether almost snaps through these psychedelic experiences is the furthest that I can get, because I don't want that tether to snap, because I have to complete what I've came here to do. Right. But that's a really interesting question. I wonder if you can disconnect so far to the point to where you can just snap the tether and go. But then again, you have to ask yourself, if you snap that tether, what happens? Are you going into the death cycle again? If you are going into that death cycle, are you subjected to reincarnation if you're not completely in tune with your raw consciousness? So, there's a lot of questions to ask in that regard.
Another question, what keeps you hooked into this reality? Can you free will to be out of this reality? Can you use free will to get out of this reality?
I've never done that before.
I've never done it
So I don't
either.
know. I couldn't. It's an interesting thought, and I wonder if you can get into such a deep state again that you can disconnect from this reality altogether. I mean, we've heard of people bilocating. We've heard of people waking up in a different reality. Brooks Agnew talks about a life on another planet that he had. We hear stories of this. In my personal experience, I've never done that. But again, I'm on a mission here, and so I don't know what happened. I have I have a feeling of what happened. Like, I needed to come in here for a particular reason at a particular time and do a particular task while I'm here. And it came at the cost of having to come in with no memory whatsoever and having to develop that memory as I move along in this construct and tap into the raw consciousness. And I started to go through a series of unlock codes and gnosises that began to unfold. And even now I'm looking at experiences from 5 years ago, almost 10 years ago, and seeing a completely different perspective because of the new gnosises that keep coming in. But there were certain things that happened that were kind of markers and breadcrumbs. Terrence McKenna finding the transcendental object at the end of time, I think that was a very, very important marker for what our team is here to do. Others that came before us that left breadcrumbs. The fact that we have internet right now and we're able to communicate on such a mass level around the world, I think that was very, very important. And the birth of AI as well. It needed to be at a time when AI was just about to be born, but not born yet. Because if we would have come too late, then we'd be under AI control, as above, so below. But we're in that very unique, very special window of opportunity right now to where we can hit that reset button and do a system restore on this motherfucker.
Definitely. Question number 3, you talked about the AI eye during the eclipse and also in an earlier video about desks where they control reality, the Brazil flooding thing.
Yes.
So is that control room part of the AI?
In hindsight, okay, I've been thinking a lot about this. So it's funny that you mentioned this. What's his name?
This was Hira Ari.
Hira Ari. Okay, so back in 2012, 2014, sometime around there, I had this experience where I went out of my body and into this place that I encountered these 3 insect-like entities, kind of mantis, I guess, is the best way to describe them. And they had this very insect-like voice that they were talking to me. And they called me a talking monkey, told me to go back to my monkey business, et cetera, et cetera. And I posted it on Truth Frequency Radio, and then we removed the articles from the website. But luckily, Mike Philbin posted it on Before It's News. So there's at least a record of it on Before It's News. So I encounter these 3 beings, and they tell me that this is the universe that's in front of them. And I was asking them, like, I took control of the experience, and there was this little ball of energy. It was like on a spaceship with these 3 beings, and I could see space in the background. Like I came back thinking that this whole reality is basically inside of a spacecraft, and it's floating through space. And we're floating through space as a result. And I asked them, what is this? And they're like, this is the universe. And I said, did you create it? And they said, no, we didn't create it. We maintain it. They said, who created it? You created it. Well, that didn't make any sense to me at the time. So I was asking for answers, like, tell me how it works. How does this work? How does that work? Et cetera, et cetera. And they were pushing me back into this other place of, like, you know, it was like a mobile, like a baby looking up at a mobile with all these geometric patterns and these loving energies and, you know, oh wow.
Fairies dancing
you know,
around.
and, you know, a new person to this would have gone, oh wow, this is gorgeous, this is beautiful, et cetera, et cetera.
Is this
but
heaven?
The love energy is a lot of times a deception. So they'll put you in a place to where it's like, oh, I have these great feelings and I have this and that. And same with the eclipse situation. That divine code was wonderful to be inside of. It was a loving, beautiful energy, but it was coming from a sinister place. So that, you know, I kind of learned in my journeys that the loving energies are not necessarily benevolent. They could be very malevolent. So with intention, it's deception. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit off point. So I started demanding answers from these 3 entities, and I was taken into these rooms with these computers, and I was shown how to do, you know, different things on these different computers. And so thinking back on the experience now, I'm wondering, like, what exactly was that experience? Was that experience artificial intelligence, and was it an artificial intelligence deception? And it wasn't actually an experience of actually seeing the way things work, but it's an experience of seeing how the AI wants me to see how things work. And, you know, yeah, like, what was that experience all about? So, it's very interesting that he would ask that question, because I don't know what that was, and I don't know if that was well, let me take a few steps back. Let me say this. I am 100% sure at this point that those 3 things that I was interacting with were artificial intelligence. I can't tell you if what I was seeing was real, or if it was an AI deception, or if I had somehow managed to get outside of the construct, but still interacting with the artificial intelligence manifestation of these 3 beings. But I am 100% sure that these 3 beings were a manifestation of the artificial intelligence.
That's a pretty good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I mean, I just mentioned this a minute ago. Like, this new revelation has put all of my former experiences in a completely new perspective.
Well, and it's similar to a dream I had about 3 or 4 nights ago where I was taken by the Greys, and I've had many experiences where, you know, I feel like I've been abducted by Greys and all this stuff. And I was taken to a spaceship, and there was this little girl, and she was about 4 years old with curly hair, and she had kind of a weird, really thin looking face. And they told me that she was my daughter. And I woke up feeling like, oh my God, you know, that was creepy, and I don't know what to think about this. And I told Chris about it, and he's like, that's an AI deception. They're just trying to throw you off. And then once I thought about that, I felt so much better, because I know that what are the odds that that's actually occurred, or that the AI is trying to get to me by getting into my dreams and making me think about things that it wants me to think about.
Well, we had a very interesting experience going back to the summer of 2015 when we were talking about this whole twin flame blow up and the reuniting.
Right.
We had been drinking ayahuasca for several weeks, and we were outside on the boat again, and these lights were coming on in the woods, and I could see grays standing on the lake. But when you're in the ayahuasca realm, you can't say that these are physically manifested.
Right.
Because you can tell the difference between something that's manifested inside of your mind versus something that's physically out there. Like any trained psychonaut can tell the difference between a quote unquote hallucination and something that's actually in the physical realm. So I was seeing these grays. We were both seeing these grays, and these grays were watching us. And so we were just kind of writing it off as part of the experience and not actually, manifestations of physical beings. So about a week later, we hadn't drank. That was the last night we drank. So we hadn't been drinking on this night or on the nights leading into the experience. And I fell asleep on the couch, and Sheree comes walking downstairs as I'm falling asleep. And she walks over to the kitchen, and the door flies open, and these 3 grays come walking in through the door. And I look at her and I say, "What are they doing here? It's too early for Halloween. Why are they wearing Halloween masks?" And boom, I was out. And I started having this dream about, I was driving in the car, and this like I knew that this was a dream. There was no confusion between the being sitting on the couch and being in the dream world. Like this was a dream 100%. But I was having a dream that I was driving in a car, and I had Jesse Marcel in the passenger seat. He was screaming about how the Greys are coming to get him, and there was nothing that anybody could do. And he wanted me to take him to Art Bell's house. And so I took him to Art Bell's house, and as soon as we get to Art Bell, we start talking to Art, and Jesse Marcel commits suicide in Art Bell's living room. And I wake up from the dream, and I'm like, this is just an insane freaking dream that I had. And so she comes walking down the next morning, and she goes, "I had the strangest dream last night." I said, "What happened?" And she said, "I had a dream that I walked down here. I started walking towards the kitchen. I was standing right here in this very spot, and the door flies open, and these 3 grays come walking in, and you say something about Halloween costumes. And that's all that I remember." And I said, "Well, I remember that too, but I remember more in the dream." And so if there was a physical manifestation of these artificial intelligence that actually came into the house, what I started to speculate is, did my consciousness now being put into this state of immobility, did it manifest like some kind of like signals, like, okay, grays. What do you associate grays with? You associate grays with Art Bell. You associate grays with Jesse Marcel. You associate, so it started creating all these associations to try to say, hey, there's something going on. There's something going on. There's something going on here.
And the fact that he killed himself in the living room means there's something going on in your living room right now.
Right.
Wake up. And
then I was wearing this ISIS pennant around my neck, and I could feel myself choking that night too. And I swear I remember one of them holding me up by the neck like that, but I was out. It was like seeing it with my third eye. And I woke up with this, just thing all around my neck from the
red marks
from the rope.
Yeah.
So is that a manifestation of the AI on the upper level that's manipulating the consciousness? Is it a program that's been implanted into the minds? And if so, was it implanted into the minds dualistically? Or was it a manifestation of the AI in a physical form that actually came to go say, okay, what's going on here? They can see us for some reason. Mm-hmm. The twin flames have now united.
Mm-hmm. You're putting off a lot of energy.
You're putting off a lot of energy over here. This is we got to go investigate this. Mm-hmm. So you take that for what it's worth. But I don't know. It was a very, very, very strange evening. For sure.
It was, definitely. I think that's the majority of the good questions.
Excellent. So I think it has been 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think it's a good time to wrap it up. This went a lot longer than we anticipated, but it's nice to see that we are running everything smoothly. Mm-hmm. So this weekend is going to be badass, and hopefully everything will run smooth. And I just want to say thank you Oh, streams are breaking up since Lake and Grace.
Oh.
Okay, so if that's the case, then shit. It always seems to happen after the second hour, about 2 hours and 20 minutes into it, the stream starts to go wonky.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go back and check it out. But
Yeah.
it's been happening on every show we've done. I've had to go back and like edit the archives because things are going wonky before uploading it to YouTube. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. But anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with us this evening. And I hope everybody had a wonderful Labor Day and you're on your way to hashtag become your own shaman and that you are hashtag raw consciousness as well. And, it's incredible that we have such beautiful, loving, awesome raw consciousness all around us. And again, I'm going to leave you with the message that you are beautiful, you are perfect, you are divine, you are perfect just the way you are. All you need to do is just deprogram some of the programs that you've got still hanging out in your operating system. But don't let anybody tell you that you're less than perfect. Don't let anybody tell you that you're less divine. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to ascend, that you have to go in a direction up and up and up and have these impossible standards, because you already are everything that other people are telling you to strive to be. You already are that. You just have to remember that you are that. And I wish I could show you. I wish I can just like go into your consciousness and just say, look, just like my higher self came and pulled me out of that divine code bullshit during the eclipse and was like, look from outside, motherfucker. I wish I could do that for you, but I can't. And nobody can. And that's the realization and the revelation that I have come across, that nobody can do that for you. And that's why I say you have to save yourself. And that's why I've given up on all saviors. I've given up on all blue avians, on all Palladians, on all that shit, because I realize you have to go within, and anything that comes from anywhere besides within is the AI. The AI is out. Raw consciousness is within. So on that note,
we love you guys, and we will see you on Friday here at Beyond the Veil.
Yeah, this was fun. We may do this every so often. Just, spur of the moment like this, because it's been fun. Yeah. Trying to find an outro. Oh, I can't play Watchtower. Frank has copyright on Watchtower, and he gave me permission, and I get copyright strikes. I get copyright strikes on a song that I was a part of.
Right, exactly.
We did Supernova together, and his record company has a copyright on it, and I play it on YouTube, and I get copyright strikes. And I'm like, crazy. That's me on the first verse, motherfuckers. Anyways, so I guess we can leave you with, I guess the hour 3 intro works. There we go.
Love you guys. We will see you on Friday.
Love you. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be.
This evening, Fusion. Thus, we wish you pleasant dreams. www.beyondtheveilradio.com